This was obviously a huge game for United and Amorim in how he responded from that midweek embarrassment. Has Amorim done enough now to convince us of his position going forward in what's going to be some very tough games to come? Well, yes, United were better in this game. They were definitely a lot sharper. If United had their shooting boots on, we would have had the game won by half time. That being said, Burnley, they were bad.
When people now ask me if I like football, I say yes, I do like football, but not Burnley. Burnley can off.
Particularly in the first half, Burnley were bad. But United showed how bad they are in different halves of football at controlling the game. All of a sudden, with Cunha and Mount going off, things got a lot more erratic, and United did rely on the coolness of Fernandes to get that game won. Let's look at through then the positives and the negatives from the Burnley game. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, guys. Subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get into it.
Okay, let's go.
Starting off with the pressing, and straight away United were a lot sharper in this game, a lot more reluctant to sit in that 5-2-3 shape that we did up against Fulham, and instead go and try and press this Burnley team. Even in the 5-2-3, we were on to them, trying to force a little turnover, but we were largely trying to press in that 4-4-2. Said it all the time, said it in pre-season. This needs to be adopted a lot more often. But I'm also going to show the troubles with it as well later on in the video. But first off, United in that 5-2-3 shape. Casemiro diving in on his man, getting in there quickly. United a lot sharper. Not sitting back like we did in the previous game. Go in and actually trying to force something to make it happen. The trouble is with United's midfielders right now, Casemiro in particular, you've got to time those jumps well, and when you don't, you're going to get punished in the Premier League. This is an instance where Casemiro made himself look a little bit foolish. Late to it, this was an instance where you don't go and press that man because he's got too much time. He skips past him, and immediately then is a very dangerous attack for Burnley. And this instance shows United, and particularly their lack of mobility in midfield, and why we've been screaming for a midfielder all summer. But United did largely try and press in that 4-4-2. I've highlighted Ahmad here, aggressive starting position. That allows United to really go and press that Burnley build-up. United forcing them to go back towards the goalkeeper. Cunha, aggressive, Mount there waiting to pounce. And then you've got Burnley kicking it long then. United a lot more aggressive in this one. A far cry from what we saw in the last Premier League game. I've always heavily believed that 4-4-2 press is needed for United to be successful. Nothing's perfect though. And if the timings are off, then you can get punished. The Burnley first goal was a prime example of this. United were caught in between two pressing structures. They were caught in between trying to go in that 4-4-2 pressing shape, but then also having the centre-back stepping out when you're in that 5-2-3. And it did cause absolute chaos. And in short, it caused an absolute clusterfuck defensively. I've highlighted both Shaw and Ahmad on this one. Shaw is pressing up. Obviously, if United in that 5-2-3, your centre-backs have to press up to limit Burnley options in the midfield. But the trouble comes when Ahmad tries to push on as well. So you've got that sort of mix of the 5-2-3 shape and the 4-4-2. And it caused absolute chaos. Shaw pushes right up to the halfway line, and then Ahmad goes to try and press as well. But the silly thing is, United, it leaves them 3v3 on that back line when that ball goes out to the Burnley player. Look at Shaw and Ahmad's positioning, well out of it. So they're trying to get back into shape then, and they never quite actually do it. When the ball goes out wide, it ends up being recycled. But you can see Luke Shaw out of position. You can see how much De Ligt has been dragged out of position. The ball does end up getting recycled, but Shaw, De Ligt, absolute chaos. They're still not quite in position yet. When that ball's about to come in, look at where De Ligt is, look at where Luke Shaw is. The big massive gap in between them, United centre-backs, Euro and Luke Shaw. De Ligt is meant to be in that space. But because of that absolute chaos that was created from obviously United trying to press, Burnley playing through them, that ends up being that chaos that's caused, and then Burnley get that first goal from it. So this is an instance where if you don't get that pressing structure and that sort of stuff right, sort of stuff that we should be working on the training pitch, then you are going to get punished in the Premier League. In possession for United now, and attacking-wise, obviously it was a lot better in this game. Some of the stuff we created from quick turnovers was excellent in it. Had some counter-attacking stuff. We also were a little bit better in settled play, although it did get a little bit more chaotic in the second half. But in terms of United and the build-up, Burnley, they did have that bit of a man-to-man press. It was particularly triggered when Euro got the ball. It did force United to kick it long on occasions, but United's second ball winning was absolutely top in this game. So it didn't actually really matter an awful lot. But this was an instance where Burnley did instigate that man-to-man press. Euro gets the ball. You can see Burnley's aggressive positioning when he has it. Forces Casemiro then when he gets it to go back to the goalkeeper. Again, the ball goes back out to Euro. Burnley quite aggressive on him. The ball ends up going into Bryan Mbeumo. It ends up going back to Euro. But then it ends up Burnley just getting that ball back as Euro can't find his man. Another instance a little bit later on though, what Amorim really wants from his United team. Euro with the ball here, plays it into Ahmad. Yes, he's got a player on his back. Burnley with that aggressive man-to-man press. But Ahmad, with his obviously technical skills, able to wriggle out of it. Burnley do have to bring him down on this occasion. Otherwise, United do have a dangerous attack. There will always be question marks about United's build-up if we are going to kick it long super consistently. Again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It did work in large spells against Arsenal. Did work to a certain point in this Burnley game as well. But if Burnley can manipulate United's build-up so easily, then imagine what better teams can do. And that's always going to be my worry. The good things United managed to do in build-up in this game was we were a little bit more patient with it. We didn't just go vertical super quickly. We also looked for very nice diagonals as well, which did come off quite a few times. So there are different aspects of United's game that are improving in the build-up. I think United's aggressive wing-back positioning was also very nice to see in certain parts of the games as well. They allowed for those diagonal balls from the centre-backs. Particularly also when United are playing against a settled sort of mid-block, something that we've struggled with. Those runs in behind from the likes of Mbeumo, really stretching the play. Amorim talked about that after the game as well. That was really nice to see. I've already mentioned that duel winning. I don't know if Mount going off did really cause that chaos in the second half, because United didn't have that duel winner higher up the pitch, and it led to Burnley having more of the ball, having a little bit more control. Not sure, but I do think we did miss Mount in that second half. The application of these players will always get brought into question when United are not playing well, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen a team that's not fighting at all in these last few games. Even against Grimsby, as much as Amorim wants to paint the defeat on obviously the players not trying as much, I didn't see that up against Grimsby. It's always been a very boring rhetoric for me, just blaming United players and the lack of effort, solely just blaming that for our results. And this Burnley game had some very good stuff. It also had some bad stuff, as I pointed out in the video. But what it did really remind me of is how good United's attacking options are right now. Cunha and Mount, I really do hope that their injuries are not serious. It showed how good they were in that first opening 30 minutes. United, I think, did struggle without them. But even with Xerxes coming in off the bench, thought his hold-up play, I thought in parts was excellent. It is a real cheat code having him and his frame higher up the pitch. Seshko showed you can aim for him when you're obviously trying to get crosses in the box. He didn't end up getting his goal, but he showed you can cross the ball into him. And Mbeumo was very, very sharp. Amorim praised it. He was able to stretch that play. Him and Ahmad showed in this game a little bit better understanding, and they did work in part very, very well. Fernandes, well, he was just Fernandes. I would like to see more of Fernandes in the 10, and with Mino playing a little bit deeper in the pivot. I do think that would potentially get the best out of United's players, get more players in their better positions. We'll have to see what happens with the different injuries though, so there's definitely a lot of options for Amorim, and it's up to him now to get the best out of them. I always say that's what a manager's job is. Get the best out of your squad. Get the best out of what's at your disposal. There's going to be tougher tests to come. This Burnley one, United did make an absolute meal of it, but it wasn't the toughest test we're going to have. The next few weeks now are going to be absolutely vital. I'm already waiting for after the international break to see what United are all about.